everybody, to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Jesse Weber. We're bringing you the latest on the murder trial of Alex Murdaugh as the prosecution winds down its case. The South Carolina courtroom has been front and center on the national stage over the past several weeks, and we want to catch you up on three big moments. First up, the jury has seen video from the interrogation of South Carolina law enforcement agents that they conducted with Alex Murdaugh in his third and final interview with them.
Do you think I killed Maggie?
I have to go where the evidence and the facts take me.
I understand that. And you think I killed Paul?
I have to go where the evidence and the facts take me, and I don't have anything that points to anybody else at this time.
So does that mean that I am a suspect?
You were still in, like I told Corey earlier, you were still in this. With everything that we've talked about, with the family guns, the ammunition, nobody else's DNA. I have to put my beliefs aside and go with the facts.
Now, one of the next big moments in the trial came Thursday morning when Judge Clifton Newman decided that the jury can hear about a roadside shooting that happened a few months after the murders. You see, Murdaugh was shot on the side of a road in September 2021, allegedly by his distant cousin Curtis Eddie Smith. He was airlifted to a Savannah hospital and was interviewed by SLED again. Originally, the judge determined that he didn't want the jury to hear about that because it happened months after the murders, but he reversed course late Wednesday because he says the defense opened the door for that to happen when they questioned a witness about Eddie Smith and his connection to Murdaugh.
The court conducted a pretrial a hearing outside the presence of the jury, addressed the issue, made it clear that the roadside shooting was a bridge too far. Then the defense decided to build a road over that bridge, decided to just go right there as if they could dance through fire without getting burned, scarred, or anything. The door was open.
And our third big moment from Thursday comes from a crime scene investigator who was brought in to reconstruct the murder scene to determine a timeline. He also clarified whether the injuries to Paul could have been self-inflicted or possibly from above.
For one, I don't know of a way to mimic this blood evidence on this door, that pattern where that shot traveled through Paul's shoulder, into his jaw, into his brain, and then took a path up and placed the biological material here at the top of the door. If he was shot in the head, then you'd have biological material out here on the ground, or at least going down, on the sidewalk in front of him. And plus, the shooter would have to be on the roof to shoot down into him, but you wouldn't have this on the door.
In your expert opinion, did you see any support or evidence in this crime scene that could support that the injuries suffered by Paul were in any manner a suicide or self-inflicted?
I don't see the possibility, knowing that it's not a contact shotgun wound, and I'm fairly strong, and I'm bigger than Paul was, and I don't know of any way you could hold that shotgun out and shoot yourself in that direction at that angle and put that biological material on top of that door like that. I don't think it's possible.
Let's get into it. I'm joined today by my co-host Terry Austin, a former trial attorney, and special guest, trial consultant Dina Sayegh-Dal. Great to have you both here. Terry, I'll start with you. First, Judge Newman said that the roadside shooting wasn't relevant. Now he's allowing the evidence in. Do you think it was strategic on his part to do it this way?
Definitely. Judge Newman is very smart. First of all, he's following the facts of this case, and he knows the law. He actually reads the cases, and I think he is being strategic. He is protecting that record. He let the financial crimes in, but he decided for this roadside it wasn't relevant until that door was open, and he said the defense opened that door, and now we are seeing evidence of that roadside. We saw, Agent Kelly talking about the fact that all of this is coming in. So I think it's a smart move on the judge's part.
Well, Dina, the jury has heard a lot of information over the last few weeks. Do you think the crime scene investigator did a good job getting his point across?
steam, which it should, because it's almost over. And they were able to, I think, clarify a few points, eliminate the suicide idea, which seems kind of ridiculous. But the defense made a good question there by questioning them on how long it took for them to investigate the mother's home, because the prosecution took so much time talking about whether or not a tarp or rain jacket was brought in. And yet, you know, if the weapons were there, he had months to get rid of them. And unfortunately, it's that messiness of the police that might hurt the prosecution's case.
Well, clearly we're going to continue to follow this case because there's a lot always to talk about. And welcome back, everybody. The woman representing alleged University of Idaho murderer Bryan Kohberger has the opportunity to make some extra money while she works on his case. Ann Taylor is a public defender in Kootenai County, Idaho. She's going to be representing Kohberger in Latah County. Now, according to an agreement, Latah County will pay Kootenai County $200 per hour for the 40-hour work week, but if she works any overtime, Taylor herself pockets that $200 an hour. The money Kootenai takes in will likely be used to cover cases in that county that Taylor is not there to handle. Latah County has very few public defenders and none with experience in capital cases. While the prosecution hasn't indicated yet whether they're going to request the death penalty, it is still on the table. Bryan Kohberger is accused of stabbing 4 college students to death inside their off-campus home near the University of Idaho. Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Zahner Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin died in November. After an intense investigation that lasted weeks, Moscow, Idaho police announced the arrest of Kohberger. He was a doctoral student at Washington State University, which is just a few miles away from Moscow. Kohberger faces multiple murder charges, but isn't expected back in court again until the summer for a preliminary hearing. So, Dina, this case is receiving a lot of attention. How long do you anticipate that the trial will actually last? And by the way, when can we actually see it?
The trial is going to be long. I would say at least probably 2 or 3 months, because you're dealing with, you know, the prosecution is going to have to prove all 4 murders separately. There's cell phone evidence. There's going to be DNA evidence. There's so many different crime scenes. This place where they were killed, his apartment, the car, maybe even his family's home. This is going to take a long time by the prosecution's point. But on the other hand, they have concerns. Will this jury be sequestered? And if so, they're not going to want to make this case go that long, even if they're not sequestered. You're taking jurors out of their lives. And so that's the push and pull that the prosecution is going to have to deal with, I would say, unless, you know, and also what are his defenses? Is he going to plead reason of insanity? That could add time as well. We'll know, as you said, a lot more in that preliminary hearing. Perhaps there's even a plea deal and no trial at all.
Well, Terry, let's go back to the money issue for a second, because it seems that defense counsel won't make more money for taking the case unless she works overtime. That likely to happen in a case this complicated?
Exactly. That's what will happen. Dina hit it on the head. There's so much to do, not just at the trial, but before the trial. Just imagine, it took weeks before the arrest was made. So there are multiple law enforcement people who need to be interviewed to find out how to make the connection to the actual arrest. So I do believe Ann Taylor is going to be investigating. She's going to be using paralegals, helping her get prepared for the trial. And, you know, we're going to have all of the documents that she has to review. Like Dina mentioned, the cell phone documents. So there's plenty to do, and she will get overtime here, unless, of course, you know, she just is able to do it without that. But I don't think that's going to happen, because this is one of the biggest cases in the country right now, and they want to make sure that they give him everything that he deserves as far as the defense.
It's an interesting development in a very fascinating and very horrifying case. Dina Dahl, Terry Austin, thank you both so much. Everyone, thanks for joining us here on The Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.